What's going on, YouTube? This is your boy Julien, Stoutt, licensed personal trainer, licensed PE teacher, world record powerlifter, special education teacher, health teacher. Here to take the fear out of fitness. Guys, we're about to take off and class is in session. Earlier this week, I foretold you that the King of Reed's YouTube channel, who I was informed his name is Justin. I did not want to go into names and things like that, but since people refer to him by name in his comments, I'm going to refer to him as well. And to the person that actually tried to chastise me about that, at the time, I didn't want to even mention his name. Number one, because personally, the things that I heard in the previous video was idiotic. Still is idiotic. But there is a response to the video, and before we get to that, I'm going to play this back to you just so you could get a understanding of what it is that I heard. So that way, nobody misconstrues what I'm about to say. Because the things that are being mentioned in the new video, I have to also clarify what I said as well. All right? So, without further ado, let's do it.
If I'm sucking 9 times out of 10, there's no condom on it. If I'm eating 9 times out of 10, there's no dental dam on it. If I'm getting mine sucked, it ain't gonna have no condom on it. If I'm topping, there ain't gonna probably be no condom. If I'm bottoming, which rarely ever happens, if it does happen, probably not gonna use a condom, and I'm okay with that. I am HIV positive, and I am entitled to condomless sex.
Okay. Was that not what you said? Was that not what you said in that video? I just played it back. Now, for those of us who aren't hearing properly, first thing is, he stated he's HIV positive, not HIV non-detectable in the video. That's first and foremost. There is a difference. I even did acknowledge he is undetectable in the video. And I even said that the probability is extremely low. And the reason why I use the terminology probability extremely low as opposed to not going to happen is, let me go ahead and do a little bit of work on this because I want you to understand that I'm not just talking out the side of my backside. So let's go ahead and Google it. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and you're gonna see it for yourself. What does it mean to be HIV undetectable? Text: HIV medication, antiretroviral treatment, or ART works by reducing the amount of the virus in the blood to undetectable levels. This means the levels of HIV are so low that the virus cannot be passed on. This is having an undetectable viral load or being undetectable. However, let's go to, can you still get HIV from someone who is undetectable? Can you still get HIV from someone who's undetectable? How does being durably undetectable affect my risk of transmitting HIV to sexual partner? People living with HIV who take antiretroviral medications daily as prescribed and who achieve and then maintain an undetectable viral load have effectively no risk of sexually transmitting the virus to an HIV negative partner. The key word in this paragraph that you read is maintain. Now, I'm going to get into the new video here shortly, but I wanted to make sure you understood where I stand on this, that I am not just some schmuck running his mouth about HIV. I am well versed on HIV. Well versed. Not only because of my high school background, but also because of my athletic training background, because athletes can in fact still participate in sport when they are diagnosed with HIV and they have reached a non-detectable status. However, before I get into the video, and before I play this video for you, when he mentioned condomless sex, I want to make sure y'all understand something, that he's entitled to it. I said in my video that nobody is entitled to it. You may be granted it, you may be afforded it due to the permission of the other individual, not meaning that you're having unconsensual sex, but in fact that this person is fully aware of all the risks and situational awareness of the escapade they're about to embark on, and they are willing and committed to giving you that option. I told you guys, I am married and I am not entitled to it. I may want it, but I'm not entitled to it. I may even receive it because my wife grants me permission, but I am not entitled to it because I'm married, and I'm married. Okay? I want to make sure y'all understand this perfectly clear. So let's get into 10 things to know about HIV suppression, and let's go to the NIH. So we already read that part already. After I began HIV treatment, how long does it take for the risk of sexually transmitting HIV to become effectively zero? There's effectively no risk of sexual transmission of HIV when the partner living with HIV has achieved an undetectable viral load and then maintained it for at least 6 months. All right. Now, I'm assuming that anybody that is a responsible person that contracts the HIV virus will, in fact, educate themselves to no end to protect anyone else that they may come in contact with. However, most people living with HIV who start taking antiretroviral therapy daily as prescribed achieve an undetectable viral load within 1 to 6 months after beginning treatment. A person's viral load is considered durably undetectable when all viral load test results are undetectable for at least 6 months after their first undetectable test result. Meaning you're going to probably take an entire year in order for you to be fully confirmed as undetectable. That means most people will need to be on treatment for 7 to 12 months to have a durably undetectable viral load. It is essential to take every pill every day to maintain durably undetectable status. As you can see, there's a chart here. It says you are at high risk at first, and then it starts dropping dramatically. And then at a certain period of time, within about 6 months, you reach an undetectable status. And then it gets lower than the undetectable range after that when you are taking your medication appropriately. Hopefully, nobody is misusing their medication. And please understand the difference between misuse of medication versus abuse of medication. What happens if I stop taking antiretroviral therapy? When therapy is stopped, viral load rebounds, and the risk of transmitting HIV to sexual partner in absence of other prevention methods return. I'm not accusing anybody of doing anything untoward, whether on purpose or ignorantly. However, things happen. The NIAID supported research has provided clear-cut scientific evidence to support the benefits of staying on continuous antiretroviral treatment. In 2006, the NIAID's large clinical trial called SMART showed that people receiving intermittent antiretroviral treatment had twice the rate of disease progression compared to those receiving continuous treatment. All right. Taking antiretroviral treatment daily as directed to achieve and maintain durably undetectable status stops HIV infection from progressing, helping people living living with HIV stay healthy and live longer while offering the benefit of preventing sexual transmission. Stopping and restarting treatment can cause drug resistance to develop, making that treatment regimen ineffective and limiting future treatment options, which means you cannot afford to miss a day. All right. What are viral load blips? Even if a person is durably undetectable and taking antiretroviral therapy daily as prescribed, they may experience small transient increases in viral load called blips, followed by a decrease back to undetectable levels. This is where I have a conniption. This is why when I did my video, this is why I said highly improbable instead of totally improbable, okay? Having a blip is relatively common and does not indicate that antiretroviral therapy has failed to control the virus. Scientists are working better to understand what causes blips. So now, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Okay? This is why you're not entitled to condomless sex. Because even when you are, and I want to make sure we're clear on this. Justin, I am not accusing you of maliciously infecting someone. That is not what I'm accusing you of. I'm accusing you of being relatively ignorant about your behavior choices in regards to not wearing a condom. Not wearing a condom when you're undetectable. You can get tested regularly. I don't care how regularly you get tested. Are you catching your blips? Do you know when you're going to get a blip? Is it actually, I'm asking questions that we don't know the answers to, because clearly in this article that I just read, it does not explain how blips exactly work. Do blips happen once every 3 months, every 6 months, every month, every 4 months, every 2 years, every 6 years? Is it like an eclipse or full moon? I'm not joking. And I'm dead serious, because you don't know when that blip is going to happen. And to completely remove yourself and your partner's, because we're going to get to the part where I still had a conniption about this, and we're getting into your second video in a minute. But when we get into your partners, whether they're HIV positive or not, on their own, whether they are HIV negative and taking a prophylactic medication or not, each and every time you have sex, you are not aware of your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your immunostatus. You're not aware of your immunostatus to the nth degree. You got tested last week. You got tested 2 weeks ago. You got tested a month ago. You probably get tested no less than once a month. And I'm being kind and generous, because I am under the impression that anybody that comes onto a YouTube channel and announces their HIV status lets me know that they're not the type of individual that hides their HIV status with their partners. And being that that's the case, I am going to assume you're more responsible than not. But even with that assertion, you are still performing in an ignorant and irresponsible way by actually declaring that you are entitled to condomless sex, being HIV non-detectable. Okay? Are we understanding each other right now? because I don't want anybody coming for me. I don't want anybody coming for you in a incorrect manner about what the problem actually is. All right, so without further ado, I am going to share my screen. Actually, before we get there, we're going to go back and finish up the portions of this video where I want to make sure you guys understand where I'm coming from.
Period. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Now, all of my partners who I am engaging with sex with, they do know that I'm HIV positive. And, you know, there's risk. We talk about risk. We talk about all these other things. And that is risk assessment for us. That's like us making, you know, hey, girl, you know, this is a person, he's HIV positive, he's undetectable, he gets tested regularly. Like, I'm going to have sex with him, point blank, period. Like, literally, like, that's what is going on. Like, that's the tea. And what gets me is, when I'm talking to these, like, what's funny about the VA is, the doctors are younger, because the doctors are probably...
All right, I'm going to stop right there. And I'm going to come back to my screen. And here we go. As you heard with your own two ears, he said partners, plural, correct? Is that what I heard? Is that what you heard? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I heard. Partners, right? Now, I'm going to play the new video. Not in its entirety because it's about 23 minutes long and I'm probably well deep into this video as it is. Actually, there might be a part 2 to this. And if there is, it's on and cracking. All right? So, with that being said, I'm going to share my screen. And here we go.
And there's thing that I have learned from this entire experience, and the takeaway from this experience is that we have a lot more work to do to end HIV stigma, and that is the reason why I refuse to give in.
Okay, let's start with the term HIV stigma, right? I'm not going to deny it. There is probably a stigma still with HIV, and we, as in the HIV peer education group at James Monroe High School back in 1993 until its decommissioning, it's still a school, but it's not the same school. Let's put it that way, right? We have been on the mission to end the stigma because back when I was a kid, back when HIV was running rampant, everybody was afraid, frightened out of their mind about it, and ignorant to the facts behind it. We, meaning me and a dozen other students, fought like hell to end the stigma behind HIV/AIDS. All right? Just for full disclosure, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video about this subject, not my last video, but the last video I did on this subject matter, I don't think I mentioned how I came to be about this. I lost 2 very prominent black men in my school when I was in middle school to this disease. These black men were phenomenal human beings who both happened to be gay. It didn't matter. It didn't matter to none of us that these individuals, and I'm keeping their names out of this video because I don't know whether or not anybody wants that information out there. And out of respect for them, those of you who live in the IS 158 Forest Avenue area, who grew up in that era of 1988 to about 1991, you know who I'm talking about. Y'all know exactly who I'm talking about. And God rest their souls, because every last one of y'all in New York, in the Bronx, in the Forest Avenue, Morrisania section of the Bronx, will be able to tell you and confirm that these two individuals that passed away from it were phenomenal human beings. Phenomenal. So when I took on the project of educating people about the subject matter, let me tell you something. I take it very seriously. I do not want people treating other people differently simply because they have a disease that you neither know or understand. All right? It is not fair to them that you act like they're walking around with something that you can catch through midair. Now, obviously, we're not being stupid and just willy-nilly just doing things in an arbitrary fashion that however we can be affected, and I already explained how you can be affected by HIV, that we're just going around and shooting needles together, having, sex with people and just random, none of that. But you can hug somebody with HIV. And as a matter of fact, right now, some 30 years later, 33 years later, well, 30 years later since I started educating people, but 33 years later since I actually started focusing on this disease hardcore, let me explain something to you. You can hug them. You could hold their hands. You can look them in the eye and tell them that you care. You can share a meal with them. You can love and respect them. You can care for them for as long as you both shall live. Whether in matrimony or in friendship, either way, it doesn't matter. So this stigma, if you guys are out here in YouTube land running around mistreating people with HIV or keeping your distance from them, acting like they got the plague, acting like they can affect you because they're in the vicinity of you, stop it. Shame on you. You disgust me. And if you are a fan of my channel and you're doing it, I strongly advise you to unsubscribe to my channel. I don't care how many people are subscribed to my channel right now. If all 162 of you want to unsubscribe to my channel right now, go right ahead, because I will not allow you to disrespect people who contracted the disease, whether through their fault or not. And yes, you can contract HIV through no fault of your own. You can contract HIV in a heterosexual fashion, and through homosexual fashion, and through bisexual fashion. It does not discriminate. So if you are in that mindset, or if you watched my last video in celebration of my chastisation of Justin and his attitude about being entitled to feeling like he could have condomless sex, then that's not what this is about. It's not about his sexuality, and I clearly said that in my last video. And it's actually not about him being HIV positive in the sense that, no, you're just HIV positive and you shouldn't have sex at all. Nobody said that. Entitlement to condomless sex was my primary focus. On top of that, the risk is still there to infect. Despite what was, you heard it already, there's blips. You heard it already, yes, you are not going to transmit HIV if you are an undetectable status or non-detectable status for over a year. But if you catch the blip, who knows what can happen? And then the funny thing is that you return right back to undetectable status. So I'm making sure you understand fully that I was completely aware of this, which is why I said extremely low as opposed to impossible. I'll continue. Let's go.
Let's talk about it. Y'all don't know what time it is. I got the black neck on. I had titled, Dear HIV Healthcare Providers. In this 20-minute video, I am discussing my experience of going to get tested. A full STI screening panel, which I do. I went to go get tested, and the healthcare workers responded with a lot of biases and HIV stigma. I am taking this
What bias? The bias that you explained in the last video was they asked you, are you having unprotected sex? Now you know what she's asking you. You know what they're asking you. I don't know why we play dumb with this. It is not egregious to ask, are you having unprotected sex? And it is not egregious to suggest that you do have protected sex. You have an autoimmune disease that you can only contract through 3 means: sex, breast milk, blood transfer. 3 ways. Now, in my last video, I gave a scenario, right? You're giving fellatio, had dental work done, semen enters, hits the wound in your mouth, you're on the blip, infection. Do you see how easily I automatically just made that possible? As obscenely improbable as that may be, it is still a possibility, and you need to take it as seriously as such. That's where I went with it. Now let's continue.
And making a video about it to educate other healthcare workers of how biases show up at work and how it prevents people from going to get tested. We need to be pushing for people to get tested. That is the biggest thing needed to end this epidemic. We need people to go get tested. We need to eradicate HIV stigma. We need to eradicate the feeling that I had of going to get tested and feeling nervous. If people do not feel comfortable going to get tested, they're not going.
Is it possible that your nerves of getting tested initially, are you, actually, you know what? Let me ask the question, better yet. Are you referring to getting tested on a regular basis, or are you talking about getting tested to find out if you are HIV positive? I will admit to you, it is probably the scariest feeling on the planet to go into a hospital not feeling your best, trying to find out what the hell is going on with your body, only to find out that you have contracted a disease that used to, at one point in time, have a 5-year window of life. Frightening. Okay? Now, on the flip side, what I will also admit is the looks that I'm sure you might get at times just because you have HIV might be debilitating. It might be annoying, infuriating. when people are looking at you side-eyed because they already know your status as a person that has contracted HIV, right? You don't deserve that. Whether you were irresponsible in your activities or not is irrelevant. What is relevant is that you deserve the dignity, honor, and respect as a human being to be treated as such every single day of your life. But when you say foolish things, you should be held accountable for it. Status be damned. I could care less about your status to coddle you and not hold you accountable for the things you say and the attitude you have. That is where I exist. That is where I reside in this entire argument, but I am going to let Justin cook for a minute.
To do it. And what does it say for someone like me who has all of the language? What does it say for me that I want to spend money at another clinic to go get tested just so I won't have to deal with the biases that these healthcare professionals are giving me? Now, in this video, I am explaining all of these things. And in this video, I am sharing to the healthcare provider that I am entitled to condomless sex.
You're not.
The response of me saying entitled to condomless sex has now been taken out of context to say that I am now pressuring people to have sex with me without a condom.
Whoa. Wait, hold on. Let's pause that. Okay. Let's stop right there. Hold on a second. Let's play that again.
Need to eradicate the feeling that I had of going to get tested.
I'm gonna skip forward again.
With the biases that these healthcare professionals are giving me. Now, in this video, I am explaining all of these things. And in this video, I am sharing to the healthcare provider that I am entitled to condomless sex. The response of me saying entitled to condomless sex has now been taken out of context to say that I am now pressuring people to have sex with me without a condom.
I can't speak for anybody else, Justin. I can't. Not at all. Not even a little bit. If there are morons out there that can't hear with their two ears and understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, shame on them. That's on them. But what I won't do is allow you to get away with what you just said. Because I'm not accusing you of forcing anybody. As a matter of fact, if you go back to my original video, I'll even play it right now. How about that? I said what I said. I said you're not entitled to condomless sex. And I also said the credit that I will give you is that you inform your partners of your HIV status. On top of that, if they decide to have condomless sex with you, then the risk is on them. I put the onus on them now because you did your job to inform people of your HIV status, non-detectable, positive, in between, it doesn't matter. You've alerted them that you have contracted the HIV virus. Done and done. Right? Once you have done that, all responsibility to protect your partner goes out the window now. You have done your job to protect your partner. Now, or partners. Like you said originally in the original video, you said partners, right? Whether it's partners as in plural in the sense that you have multiple partners that you are actively having sex with currently, or whether or not the amount of people you have had sex with over time, doesn't matter. What matters is you alerted them, they know about it, they made a choice. Whatever consequences come of that, that's on them. All right, let's continue. And no, you're not forcing anybody. You can't force somebody to have sex with you, because that is called the R word that I won't say on YouTube to get my video flagged.
The entitlement part came directly from me telling a healthcare professional, talking to healthcare professionals, that people who are HIV positive and are undetectable are entitled to having condomless sex. Instead, people have now taken this and made it seem as though I and others are engaging in sex without consent.
No. If that's what people are saying, they're morons. Okay? But you're not entitled to condomless sex, even if you were not HIV positive at all. Whether you have HIV, whether you don't have HIV, whether you have herpes, gonorrhea, chlamydia, you're completely fine. You're a virgin. It doesn't matter. You are not entitled to it. You are authorized it by your partner, but you're not entitled to it. You don't deserve it. It's not something you just get to have because that's what you want. You can want a lot of things. I want to be taller. Not anymore, but at one point I wanted to be taller. And guess what? I'm not. Does that mean I'm entitled to growth? No. I'm sorry, but we got to be more mindful about the things that we put out there. If you're going to be on YouTube and you're going to say the things that you're going to say, especially if you're trying to put people on a mindset of not mistreating you and judging you based on your HIV status, you got to choose your words better, sir. Because you said I'm entitled to condomless sex. Period. Full stop. And you're not. That's where, in this world, that's where it resides. And when I say you're not entitled to it, it means you do not simply deserve it because it's your right. You deserve it because your partner feels that you deserve it. It is your partner's choice on whether or not you get condomless sex. And if you're the bottom, it is your choice to give the person the right to have condomless sex, not the other way around. The penetratee does not get, the penetratee gets the right to acknowledge or dismiss your entitlement to condomless sex. Period. Do we understand ourselves here?
In this video that I say that I am engaging in unconsensual sex, but as a person who is HIV positive, my sex life is heavily policed. Heavily policed because stigma has people believing that people like myself are out here infecting others.
No. The stigma is, and there is no stigma, well, correction. There might be a stigma. And the point of the matter is you have a sexually transmitted disease that destroys the autoimmune system if left unfettered. As I read in the article already, you've heard me say it. You've seen me pull it up. If you're in an undetectable status, you more than likely cannot pass HIV on to another person, period. However, it is said that there are blips. You nor anyone else can explain to me when they happen, why they happen, and how long do they last? And when those blips do occur, are you aware that you're in a blip? And what do you do when you are in a blip? Do you disengage from sexual activity altogether? Do you wear condoms then? And then when you reach undetectable status, again, do you go back to re-engaging in unprotected sex? Yes, I'm using the terminology unprotected sex. Because if you happen to have sex while you're in the blip, you are now in an armed state. You are armed, sir. You are armed with HIV at that point. And if you fire off, you're going to infect someone. High likely that you can infect someone in the blip. So therefore, to cover all your bases, to ensure absolute safety from HIV, HIV and HIV alone we are focused on, because that one is the disease that can kill you and your partners. It can kill you both. It can kill you all partners if you're not careful. So as a result, you are not entitled to it, and the stigma is not there because you have a disease that can kill somebody if left untreated or if left unknown. Because what if somebody's ignorant? Let's play devil's advocate real quick. As a matter of fact, let's pull out of this video real quick for a second. I want you to see my face when I say this. What if you hit the blip? You were unaware of the blip. You then pass it on to someone else. Not because you were indiscriminately, rampantly, ignorantly just having condomless sex with anybody that moves. And then on top of that, you were just, ignorant in your expulsion of your bodily fluids. That's not what I'm getting at. But suppose you have a blip, your partner's not on prophylactics, they're not HIV positive. During your blip, you're having unprotected sex and you give it to them. They don't know they're HIV positive now. And for months, several weeks, if not months, they themselves are HIV positive now. And they go off and not have a relationship with you anymore and have relations with someone else. They spreaded it. They did not spread it ignorantly. They didn't spread it in the sense of, ooh, I don't care. I know I'm HIV positive. I'm giving it to people. They're spreading it because they're unknowingly infected, which is really the majority of how people spread HIV, because they did not know they had it. And then while they were in their state of what's the point? In their state of health, they were passing it on to other people unknowingly. Because let me explain it to you. 99% of the people that will contract this disease is not going to try to pass it on to someone else on purpose. 99%. Okay? But the disease would not still be being passed on with all of these prophylactics, with all of this antiretroviral medication that is running around right now. It would be near improbable for people to be contracting HIV at a rate of 150,000 a year if people were not running around giving it to other people without knowing. So, there is a stigma. If there is one, it's because it's still being passed around, and it can still kill you if you do not watch yourselves, if you do not police yourselves, if you do not act in a more safer manner. Because it's like messing with radioactive equipment. You're just going to randomly just pick it up and grab it, or are you going to wear some sort of protection against it? Some radiation won't kill you, but high exposure to certain radiations will. And if you're having condomless sex, and depending on your sex drive, Lord only knows how often you're having sex. But if you're having sex at a reasonable clip, every single time you have sex is a high probability, is an exponential probability of infection. It only takes one time. It's like getting pregnant. But I digress. Let's get back to it.
Even when the premise of the video was about the importance of going to get tested. The video I am sharing that I am undetectable. I've been undetectable for years now. I've been undetectable for a very, very long time. When I was first diagnosed with HIV, I didn't even engage in any sex. I didn't even touch myself because I was turned off. That's how strong the stigma was. I was turned off by the sight of myself. Even though my appearance or anything didn't change, it was the stigma around HIV.
That's a personal issue. It's not a stigma. You contracted a disease, whether through no fault or partial fault of your own. You contracted the disease. That in of itself, you're going to go through the stages of grief because you are fully aware that this disease could possibly kill you. And you're going to go through the stages of grief. And then you said yourself that you did not even engage in masturbation, pleasuring yourself, let alone sexual activity with another individual. All right. Again, I want to make sure you guys understand this. His sexuality, and I'm going to talk directly to you, Justin, your sexuality has nothing to do with this. Everything that I'm saying to you right now, I could be saying to you as a heterosexual man. I'm dead serious. Anybody that knows me outside of YouTube land will be able to tell you with a straight face that this is who you're dealing with. You're not dealing with some bigot. You're not dealing with somebody that will go against go with the flow simply because it's popular. I may not be homosexual, but that does not mean your homosexuality affects me. And at the same time, it does not mean you deserve to be stigmatized because you're gay. There are plenty of weird things people do in their bedrooms that do not require homosexuality. Trust and believe me. Okay?
And it's going to be a while to become comfortable with myself. So now that you have people taking this video and making it seem as though all of the sex that I am engaging in is unconsensual, that I am not sharing my status with my partners, I'm not having a conversation about sexual health, even though the original video is about going to get tested.
In all fairness to you, you did say you converse with your partner. You said that, I played it back. For those of you who didn't hear it, I played it back. He did in fact say he discusses his status with his partners beforehand. So do not come for him. I will back you up. Between you and me, Justin, I will back you up 100% in the fact that you actually said this. On the positive note, you actually share your status with your partners. And those of you in YouTube land that cannot accept those facts, I can't help you. I really can't. The problem lies in the fact that it doesn't matter you get tested. You can have a blip at a moment in between tests. Suppose your blip starts 3 days after your last test. You had sex on day 4. You got tested again on day 7. You find out you have a blip. What are you going to do? Are you going to assume that the blip happened when you got tested? Or are you going to turn around and freak out because you don't know if you've infected your partner or not? Or reinfected your partner if they already had HIV to begin with? Do you see where I'm going with this? This is why I have a problem with the video you made. Because you cannot guarantee that you're not going to pass on the HIV virus unless you wear a condom and use naloxone 9 to kill the virus within the condom to further protect your partner, along with a medicational prophylactic.
Clip going viral is a perfect example of how HIV stigma works. And what I am experiencing is HIV stigma.
All right, guys, I'm going to stop there. There will be a part 2 to this. It will probably get posted later on today. And I want you guys to do me a favor. If you know anybody that has seen the original video that I made, feel free to share this video with them as well, because I do respect Justin's response to anything that is being said about his viral video. To the people out there in YouTube land, to my champions that are following me here on Facebook, I appreciate you watching. Be ready for part 2. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Have a nice day. Be the best you. Plane still in the air. Class of Stoutt.